Jake Harrison sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien creatures around him laugh. The sound was not like human laughter. The Vraxian delegate made clicking noises with his bug-like mouth. The snake-like Thezizka hissed through his long throat. The four-armed Zephyrian pounded his fists on the table so hard that the vibrations shook Jake's water glass. They were all laughing at humans. The Galactic Council meeting was supposed to be about trade routes and shipping lanes. Instead, it had turned into a discussion about how weak Earth's defenses were. Jake had heard this talk before, but today felt different. Today, the mockery was sharper and more cruel. "The human colonies have no real protection," said Devraxion. Delicate, his wings making a buzzing sound. "Our scout ships flew right past their warning systems. They never even saw us coming." Jake kept his face calm, but inside he felt angry. The Vraxian was telling the truth, but not the whole truth. Yes, their scout ships had gotten close to human colonies, but they had not gotten as close as they thought. Speaker Thizizka raised his snake-like head high above the council table. His yellow eyes looked at Jake with something that might have been pity. Perhaps humans are not ready for membership in this council. A species that cannot protect its own people should not have a voice in galactic affairs. The other delegates nodded and made their own sounds of agreement. The crystalline Etherians sang a high note that meant yes in their language. The fish-like Aquarians bubbled in their water tanks. Even the plant-like Verdans rustled their leaves in a way that showed they agreed. Jake had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 7 years. He had sat through many meetings where aliens looked down on humans, but this was the worst. They were not just saying humans were weak. They were saying humans did not deserve to be here at all. Our technology is thousands of years ahead of theirs, continued the Vraxian. They still use chemical rockets to move between planets. They still fight wars with metal bullets. It would take us less than 1 solar cycle to conquer all their worlds. The Zephyrian war chief stood up on his powerful legs. His 4 arms flexed as he spoke. "My people have fought in 100 wars across the galaxy. I have seen strong defenses and weak ones. The humans have the weakest defenses I have ever seen. Their weapons cannot even scratch our armor." Jake wanted to speak up, but he knew it would not help. Anything he said would just make them laugh harder. So he sat quietly and let them talk. He let them think they knew everything about human capabilities. What they did not know was that Admiral Lisa Carter was watching the meeting from a secret location on Earth. Deep under the mountains of Colorado, she sat in a room filled with computers and scientists. The room was 3 miles underground, hidden from all sensors and satellites. Dr. Carl Rodriguez adjusted his thick glasses and looked at the screens showing the council meeting. "They really think we are helpless," he said to Admiral Carter. "Should we tell Ambassador Harrison about the project?" Admiral Carter shook her head. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight military style. Her uniform was crisp and clean, but her eyes showed the tiredness of someone who had been working without sleep for days. "No, let them think we are weak. It will make our demonstration more effective." Dr. Nina Walsh looked up from her calculations. She was younger than the others, but her mind was sharp as a blade. "The quantum displacement field is almost ready. We just need 72 more hours to finish the final preparations." "Good," said Admiral Carter. "Let the council finish their meeting. Let them make their plans. They will understand soon enough." Back on the council station, the mockery continued. A delegate from the hegemony spoke about how human ships moved so slowly that they could be destroyed before they even knew they were under attack. Another alien talked about how human colonies had no shields or force fields to protect them. "They are like children playing with toys," hissed Thizizka. "They think their little metal ships and primitive weapons can stand against the might of galactic civilization." Jake finally stood up. The room became quiet. All eyes turned to him. He was a small figure compared to the massive aliens around him, but he had learned not to show fear. "Honored delegates," he said in a calm voice, "I understand your concerns about human defensive capabilities, but I think you may be underestimating us." The Vraxian delegate made a sound that was definitely laughter. "Underestimating? Human, we have seen your technology. We have studied your weapons. We know exactly what you are capable of." "Do you?" Jake asked. "Are you sure about that?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. The aliens looked at each other with expressions that might have been confusion or amusement. Jake could see they thought he was bluffing. "Very well," said Daziska. "If humans believe they have hidden strengths, perhaps it is time to test them. The Vraxian Empire has been expanding toward your outer colonies. Maybe we should allow them to continue." The Vraxian delegate's wings buzzed with excitement. "My fleet commanders have been asking for permission to claim those worlds. The resources there would be useful to the Empire." Jake felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his voice steady. "If that is the Council's decision, then humanity will respond accordingly." Response? The Zephyrian war chief laughed and pounded the table again. "What response could you possibly make? Your entire fleet is smaller than one of our battle groups." Jake smiled then, and the smile made several delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. There was something in that smile that did not match the image of weak, helpless humans they had in their minds. "I guess we will all find out," Jake said quietly. The meeting ended with the Council giving tacit approval for Vraxian expansion into human space. As the delegates filed out, Jake remained in his seat, looking calm and unworried. Several aliens glanced back at him, puzzled by his lack of fear far below the Earth's surface. Admiral Carter received the news. "It is done," she told her team. "The Vraxians will move their fleet toward our colonies within the week." Dr. Rodriguez looked nervous. "Are we really ready for this? The quantum displacement system has never been tested on this scale." "We are as ready as we will ever be, Admiral," Carter replied. "And it is time the galaxy learned that humans do not always fight the way others expect us to." Dr. Walsh ran her hands through her hair and looked at the massive machines around them. 72 hours, she said. "In 72 hours we will either make history or become history." "We will make history," Admiral Carter said with certainty. "The galaxy has underestimated humanity for the last time." 3 weeks after the council meeting, everything changed. The Vraxian Empire had moved faster than anyone expected. Their war fleets gathered at the edge of human space, like dark clouds before a storm. The ships were massive, each one bigger than a human city. There were over 2,000 of them. Commander Zrakthul stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the star maps. The human colonies were spread out across 12 systems. Each one looked defenseless. His scouts had confirmed what the Council already knew. The humans had small ships, weak weapons, and no real military bases. "Send the message," he ordered his communications officer. The ultimatum was simple and cruel. The humans had 24 hours to surrender their outer colonies. If they refused, the Vraxian fleet would destroy every human ship, station, and settlement in those systems. The message was sent to Earth, to the colonies, and to the Galactic Council. On Earth, President Helen Morrison sat in the Situation Room with her top advisors. The room was deep underground, protected by layers of concrete and steel. The walls were covered with screens showing the positions of Vraxian ships. The numbers were not good. General Pete Williams, head of the Space Defense Force, pointed to the tactical display. "They have over 2,000 ships. We have 387. Even if we call back every patrol ship and cargo hauler, we cannot match their numbers." "What about our allies?" asked Secretary of Defense Karen Brooks. She was new to the job, having been promoted just 2 months ago. The fear in her voice was clear. "The Altarians recalled their ships yesterday," General Williams replied. "They say they need to defend their home worlds. The Centauri Federation is staying neutral. They will not help us, but they will not help the Vraxians either." President Morrison looked older than her 60 years. The stress of the past weeks had added new lines to her face. "So we are on our own." "Yes, ma'am," General Williams said quietly. "We are on our own." But they were not really alone. Deep under the Colorado mountains, Admiral Lisa Carter and her team worked around the clock. The secret facility had been built over 15 years ago, but most of the government did not know it existed. Even President Morrison had only learned. About it 3 days ago, Dr. Nina Walsh had not slept in 36 hours. Her eyes were red from staring at computer screens, but her mind was sharp. She had made a breakthrough that could change everything. The quantum displacement field, originally designed for faster-than-light communication, could be scaled up, not just to send messages across space, but to move massive objects. "You want to move what?" Dr. Carl Rodriguez asked when she explained her discovery. He had been working on the project since the beginning, but even he was shocked by what she was suggesting. "Earth," Nina said simply. "We can move Earth itself." The idea was so crazy that it took several minutes for anyone to speak. Admiral Carter walked over to the wall of equations that Nina had been working on. She was not a scientist, but she had learned enough over the years to understand the basics. "You are talking about moving an entire planet," Admiral Carter said. "Slowly. Is that even possible?" "Not moving," Nina corrected. "Displacing. We can shift Earth's position in space-time by creating a fold in reality itself. Think of it like stepping from one room to another through a doorway that we create." Dr. Rodriguez shook his head. "The energy requirements would be enormous. We would need the power of a star." "We have that," Nina replied. She pointed to the massive machines that filled the underground caverns. "These generators can tap into the quantum foam itself. We can pull energy directly from the fabric of space-time." Admiral Carter realized what this meant. If they could make Earth disappear, they could make it reappear anywhere they wanted. The Vraxian fleet would have nothing to attack. "How long do we need?" she asked. 48 hours to complete the setup," Nina said. "Then we can run the first test. The Vraxians gave us 24 hours, Admiral Carter pointed out. "Then we need to buy more time," Nina said. President Morrison made the decision to evacuate the outer colonies. It was a difficult choice, but it was the only way to save lives. The colonists were angry and afraid, but they packed their belongings and boarded transport ships. Within 18 hours, over 2 million people were fleeing toward the inner systems. The Vraxian fleet watched the evacuation with satisfaction. Commanders Rakthul had expected more resistance. The humans were giving up without a fight, just as he had predicted. "Shall we pursue the transport ships?" asked his second-in-command. "No," Rakthul replied. "Let them run. We will deal with them later. First, we will claim the colonies and their resources." But the evacuation was not a surrender. It was a strategic retreat. Admiral Carter had ordered the colonies cleared because she knew what was coming. The quantum displacement test would be dangerous, and she did not want any civilians nearby. When it happened, Dr. Rodriguez worked frantically to connect the final power couplings. The generators were bigger than office buildings, and they filled caverns that stretched for miles underground. The amount of energy they could produce was beyond anything humans had ever created before. "Are we sure this will work?" he asked Nina as they ran the final system checks. "No," she admitted. "We are entering completely unknown territory. But the math is solid. The quantum field equations show that it should be possible. And if we are wrong," Nina was quiet for a moment. "If we are wrong, We might accidentally destroy Earth, or we might tear a hole in space-time itself, or we might create a black hole that swallows the entire solar system. That is not very reassuring, Dr. Rodriguez said. The alternative is letting the Vraxians destroy human civilization, Nina replied. I think the risk is worth it. Admiral Carter received constant updates from the tracking stations. The Vraxian fleet was moving into position. They would be ready to attack in less than 12 hours. The human evacuation was almost complete, but there was no way to evacuate Earth itself. Status report, she called out. Quantum field generators are online, Dr. Rodriguez reported. Displacement calculations are loaded into the main computer. We are ready to begin the test sequence. Communications are ready, added Lieutenant Bobby Chun, the youngest member of the team. We can broadcast the demonstration to the Vraxian fleet and the Galactic Council. Admiral Carter looked around at her team. They were tired, stressed, and scared, but they were also determined. They had worked for years to reach this moment. Remember, she said, we are not just defending Earth. We are changing the balance of power in the galaxy. After today, no one will underestimate humanity again. The final preparations took 6 more hours. During that time, the Vraxian fleet moved closer to Earth. Their ships spread out in battle formation, ready to begin the attack. Commander Zrak-Thul sent one final message to the human government. Your time is up, the message said. Surrender now, or we will destroy your home. World. President Morrison, Admiral Carter, and the entire team watched as the message was received. The moment of truth had arrived. Either the quantum displacement system would work, or human civilization would end. Send our reply, Admiral Carter. Ordered. The message was short and simple. We decline your offer. Prepare to see what human defensive technology can really do. Commander Zrak-Thul laughed when he heard the human response. They are still bluffing. Begin the attack. But deep under the Colorado mountains, Dr. Nina Walsh placed her hand on the activation control. The quantum displacement field was ready. The most ambitious project in human history was about to begin. Initiating quantum displacement in 10 seconds, she announced. The generators began to hum with power that would shame a star. The air itself seemed to vibrate with energy. And somewhere in the depths of space-time, reality began to bend. The Vraxian fleet hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. Commander Zrak-Thul stood on his bridge and watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. The blue and white planet looked peaceful and helpless. Soon, it would be under Vraxian control. All ships report ready for attack, announced his tactical officer. Weapons are charged and targeting systems are locked. Zrak-Thul had conquered 17 worlds in his career. He had seen species fight with desperate courage when faced with extinction. He had watched civilizations throw everything they had at his fleets, but he had never seen anything like what the humans were about to do. This is Admiral Lisa Carter of the Earth Defense Force, came a transmission from the human orbital station. You have entered our solar system without permission. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The message was broadcast on all frequencies. Every ship in the Vraxian fleet heard it. Laughter echoed through the bridge of every vessel. The humans had 47 ships scattered around their system. The Vraxians had over 2,000. Admiral Carter, Zrak-Thul replied, making sure his voice carried the proper amount of contempt. You have 47 ships. We have 2,000. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your ships cannot outrun ours. Surrender now, and we will allow your species to work in our mines and factories. Counteroffer, came Admiral Carter's calm reply. You have 10 minutes to leave our system before we demonstrate why the Galactic Council was wrong about our defensive capabilities. The laughter on the Vraxian bridges grew louder. Several ship commanders opened private channels. To mock the human threat, what could they possibly do? Their most powerful weapons were like toys compared to Vraxian technology. "Admiral," said Zrak-Thul's science officer, "I am detecting some kind of energy buildup on the planet's surface. The readings are unusual." "Unusual how?" Zrak-Thul asked, though he was not really concerned. Humans had been known to set off nuclear weapons in desperate situations. It never helped them. "The energy signature does not match any known weapons technology," the science officer replied. "It appears to be coming from deep underground." Zrak-Thul dismissed the report with a wave of his clawed hand. Probably some kind of self-destruct system. They would rather destroy themselves than serve the Empire. But deep under the Colorado mountains, Dr. Nina Walsh was not preparing to destroy anything. She was preparing to do something that had never been done before in the history of the galaxy. Her hands moved over the control panel as she made final adjustments to the quantum displacement field. "All systems are green," Dr. Carl Rodriguez reported. "The generators are running at full power. Displacement field is stable," added Lieutenant Bobby Chun. "We are ready to begin the sequence." Admiral Carter watched the countdown timer on the main screen. 3 minutes remained until the Vraxian ultimatum expired. She had spent 15 years preparing for this moment, but she still felt nervous. What they were about to do would change everything. "Begin displacement sequence," she ordered. The quantum generators deep in the Earth began to hum with power beyond imagination. The machines pulled energy directly from the fabric of space-time itself. The amount of power flowing through the system was equivalent to the output of a medium-sized STAR. Dr. Nina Walsh monitored the field equations as they scrolled across her screens. The math was working perfectly. Space-time was beginning to bend around Earth, creating a bubble of altered reality. To anyone watching from outside, it would look like the planet was beginning to fade. "Field strength at 20%, she reported. "Space-time distortion is holding steady." The effect was subtle at first. Earth's image began to shimmer slightly, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The Vraxian sensor operators noticed the change, but dismissed it as atmospheric interference. 50% field strength, Nina announced. The displacement bubble is expanding. Now Earth was becoming translucent. The planet was still there, but it was becoming harder to see. The blue oceans and white clouds looked like they were made of glass. The Vraxian fleet's targeting computers began to lose their lock on the planet. "Commander," the science officer called out urgently, "something is wrong with our sensors. The planet is fading." Zrak-Thul looked at the main screen and felt his first moment of doubt. Earth was definitely becoming less solid. The continents were still visible, but they looked like shadows of themselves. 80% field strength. Nina reported displacement in 10 seconds. The Vraxian fleet watched in growing alarm as Earth continued to fade. Several ship commanders opened emergency channels to report malfunctions in their targeting systems. But the systems were working perfectly. The planet itself was disappearing. Full displacement in 3.2.1. Now. The quantum field reached maximum strength. Space-time folded around Earth like a closing fist. The planet stepped sideways out of normal reality and into a pocket dimension that existed between the spaces in the universe to the Vraxian fleet. Earth simply vanished. One moment it was there, a solid blue-white sphere hanging in space. The next moment, there was nothing but empty black space where the planet had been. "Report!" Zrak-Thul shouted at his science officer. "The planet is gone, sir," came the stunned reply. "Not destroyed, not moved. It no longer exists in normal space-time." "That is impossible," Zrak-Thul snarled. "Planets do not just disappear." "Nevertheless, sir, It has happened. Our sensors detect no trace of the planet. It is as if it never existed. The Vraxian fleet hung in space, stunned by what they had witnessed. Ship commanders called for status reports from their science officers. The reports were all the same. Earth had simply ceased to exist, but the demonstration was not over. Deep in the pocket dimension, Admiral Carter gave the next order. Prepare for reappearance. Target coordinates are behind the Vraxian fleet. Dr. Nina Walsh smiled as she entered the new coordinates. The quantum displacement field could not only make Earth disappear, it could make it reappear anywhere within. A light-year radius, and she had chosen the perfect spot. Initiating reappearance sequence, she announced. The quantum field began to shift. Earth stepped back into normal space-time, but not in its original location. The planet materialized directly behind the Vraxian fleet, less than 1,000,000 kilometers from their rear guard. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Earth's massive gravitational field suddenly appeared where there had been empty space. Several smaller Vraxian ships were caught off guard and pulled out of formation. Their engines strained to compensate for the unexpected gravity well. Impossible, Zrak-Thul whispered as he stared at the tactical display. Earth had not only vanished, it had reappeared in a completely different location. A planet that had been in front of his fleet was now behind it. Sir, his communications officer reported, we are receiving a transmission from Admiral Carter. Put it through, Zrak-Thul ordered, though his voice was shaky. Admiral Carter's image appeared on the main screen. She looked calm and confident, as if making planets disappear was something she did every day. Commander Zrak-Thul, she said, I hope you found our demonstration educational. As you can see, Earth is quite capable of defending itself. How? Zrak-Thul managed to ask. How did you make your planet disappear? Let us just say that human technology is more advanced than the Galactic Council realized, Admiral Carter replied. We prefer not to discuss the details. The Vraxian commander looked around at his fleet. His ships were powerful, but they were designed to fight conventional enemies. How could you attack a planet that could step out of reality itself? What do you want? He asked. We want you to leave our system. Admiral Carter said simply. We want you to report to the Galactic Council that humanity is not as defenseless as they believed. And we want you to remember that Earth can appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. To emphasize the point, Earth vanished again. This time, it reappeared on the other side of the solar system, near Jupiter. A massive planet hung in space like a blue jewel, beautiful and impossible. As you can see, Admiral Carter continued, we can relocate our home world at will. We can appear behind enemy fleets, beside strategic targets, or anywhere else we choose. Traditional military tactics are useless against us. Zrak-Thul realized that everything had changed. The Vraxian Empire was the most powerful military force in the galaxy, but their power meant nothing against an enemy that could simply vanish when attacked. We will withdraw, he said finally. A wise decision, Admiral Carter replied. Please convey our regards to the Galactic Council. Tell them that humanity looks forward to continuing our membership in good standing. The transmission ended. The Vraxian fleet began to turn away from Earth's solar system. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, every ship's crew watched in amazement as Earth vanished one more time and reappeared in its original orbit. Dr. Nina Walsh leaned back in her chair and smiled. The quantum displacement system had worked perfectly. Earth had stepped in and out of reality like a cosmic dancer, proving that human technology was far more advanced than anyone had imagined. Phase 1 complete, Admiral Carter announced to her team. I think we have made our point. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's 1,000-year history. Representatives from every major species had gathered within hours of receiving the Vraxian fleet's report. The great chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates tried to understand what had happened. Speaker Thaisaska called the session to order, but his usual commanding presence was shaken. His serpentine body coiled and uncoiled as he spoke, betraying his nervousness. "The Council has received disturbing reports from the Vraxian fleet," he announced. "Commander Zrakthul claims that the human planet Earth ... disappeared." The chamber erupted in discussion. The crystalline Etherians sang discord notes. The Zephyrian delegates argued loudly among themselves. The plant-like verdants rustled their leaves in agitation. "Impossible," declared the Vraxian Council representative, though. His voice lacked conviction. "Planets cannot simply vanish. There must be some explanation." "Commander Zrakthul's report is detailed and consistent," replied the Vraxian military attaché. "Over 2,000 ships witnessed the event. The planet Earth disappeared from normal spacetime, then reappeared in a different location." The Etherian delegate sang a high, worried note. If the humans have developed such technology, what else might they be capable of? Ambassador Jake Harrison sat quietly in the human section, watching the chaos unfold. He had been in emergency communication with Earth for the past 6 hours, receiving updates on the quantum displacement demonstration. Now it was time to reveal the truth. "I request permission to address the Council," Jake said, standing up. Chamber fell silent. Every eye, sensor, and optical organ focused on the human ambassador. These were the same beings who had mocked humanity just weeks ago. Now they looked at Jake with fear and uncertainty. "Honored delegates," Jake began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber, "I think it is time for some honesty. For too long, this council has underestimated human capabilities. You assumed our technology was primitive because we did not boast about it. You believed our defenses were weak because we chose not to reveal them." The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated. Images from the Vraxian fleet's sensors showed Earth disappearing and reappearing in different locations. Around the solar system, the planet moved like a ghost, there one moment and gone the next. "We call it quantum displacement," Jake continued. "The ability to fold spacetime itself, to move objects between dimensions. While you built bigger weapons and stronger armor, we learned to step outside reality itself." The Aquarian delegate bubbled frantically in his water tank. "How long have you possessed this technology?" "Long enough," Jake replied. "We have been developing it for over 15 years. The project was classified at the highest levels of our government." Dr. Nina Walsh appeared on the holographic display, transmitting from the Colorado facility. Her image was clear and confident as she addressed the stunned council. "The science behind quantum displacement is complex," she explained, "but the basic principle is simple. Human consciousness affects quantum fields in ways that other species cannot achieve. When properly synchronized, human neural patterns can create localized distortions in spacetime." The implications of her words sent shockwaves through the chamber. The Etherian delegate's song became a shrill whistle of alarm. The Zephyrian representative's forearms shook with rage or fear. "You are saying that humans can manipulate reality itself?" asked the verdant delegate, his leaves rustling with anxiety. "In a limited way, yes," Dr. Walsh replied. "Earth is not just our home world. It has become connected to our collective consciousness. Through the quantum field generators, we can move our planet to any location within a light-year radius." The hegemony delegate, a mechanical being with glowing red sensors, spoke in a flat electronic voice. "This capability poses a significant threat to galactic security. A planet that can appear anywhere without warning could attack any system." Jake Harrison smiled at the comment. "That is where you are wrong. We have no interest in attacking anyone. Our technology is purely defensive." "Defensive?" The Vraxian representative's wings buzzed with skepticism. You can make your planet appear anywhere in the galaxy. You could materialize Earth in orbit around our home world and destroy us with gravitational forces. We could, Jake agreed. But we will not. Humanity has always preferred diplomacy to warfare. We seek to protect ourselves and our allies, not to conquer others. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some delegates demanded that humanity share the technology. Others called for restrictions on its use. The hegemony representative suggested that the quantum displacement system be declared illegal under galactic law, but one voice cut through the chaos. The Centauri Federation ambassador, a tall, elegant being with silver skin, stood up to speak. Perhaps, she said in a melodious voice, we should ask ourselves why humanity felt the need to develop such capabilities in secret. Could it be that we forced them to do so? The chamber fell silent again. The Centauri were known for their wisdom and neutrality. When they spoke, others listened. For decades, we have treated humans as inferior beings, the Centauri ambassador continued. We mocked their technology, dismissed their contributions, and threatened their worlds. Is it any wonder that they developed weapons we could not understand or counter? Jake felt a surge of gratitude toward the Centauri delegate. She was speaking the truth that many in the council did not want to hear. The quantum displacement system was developed as a last resort, Jake explained. When the Vraxian fleet threatened our colonies, we faced extinction. We could either surrender or reveal our hidden capabilities. Dr. Nina Walsh's image on the display added more details. The quantum field generators require enormous amounts of energy and precise coordination. We cannot use them for quick strikes or surprise attacks, but we can use them to make Earth completely unreachable to any hostile force. The strategic implications were staggering. Traditional military thinking assumed that planets were fixed targets. You could attack them, blockade them, or conquer them. But how could you fight an enemy whose home world could simply vanish when threatened? What are your intentions? Asked Speaker Thizes Ka. Now that you have revealed this capability, what do you plan to do with it? Jake looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had once mocked humanity. Now they watched him with respect and fear. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in a single day. We propose a new approach to galactic security, he said. Instead of relying on destructive weapons and massive fleets, we offer protection through displacement technology. The idea was revolutionary. Jake explained how Earth could use its quantum displacement capabilities to protect smaller civilizations from aggressive empires. Instead of destroying attacking fleets, they would simply displace them to empty space where they could reconsider their actions. You would exile aggressive species to the void? Asked the hegemony representative. Not exile, Jake corrected. Timeout. We would move attacking fleets to safe locations where they could think about their choices. No one would be killed or injured, but aggression would become pointless. The Etherian delegate sang a complex melody that translated as interesting but dangerous. The Aquarian representative bubbled thoughtfully. Even the Vraxian delegate seemed intrigued by the concept. Dr. Walsh added technical details about the displacement process. We can move individual ships, entire fleets, or even small moons. The quantum field is precise enough to relocate military forces without harming civilian populations. The debate continued for hours. Some species worried about the implications of giving humans such power. Others saw opportunities for protection and peace. The Centauri Federation formally proposed that humanity be given a leadership role in galactic security. As the session wore on, it became clear that everything had changed. The species that had once mocked human defenses now sought human protection. The empire that had threatened to conquer Earth now asked for assurance that their home worlds would not be displaced. Finally, Speaker Thazisa called for a formal vote. The motion was simple. Would the Galactic Council recognize humanity's quantum displacement technology as a legitimate defensive system? The vote was unanimous. Every species, including the Vraxians, voted in favor. They had no choice. The alternative was to risk having their own worlds disappear without warning. Jake Harrison stood up as the session ended. "Thank you for your confidence," he said to the council. "Humanity looks forward to working with all of you to create a more peaceful galaxy." As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many stopped to speak with Jake. The same beings who had laughed at human weakness now sought meetings and alliances. The Vraxian representative even offered a formal apology for threatening Earth. Dr. Nina Walsh smiled as she watched the proceedings from Colorado. The quantum displacement system had done more than protect Earth. It had transformed humanity from the galaxy's weakest link into its most powerful protector. Phase 2 complete, Admiral Carter announced to her team. "I think we have their attention now." 6 months had passed since Earth disappeared in front of the Vraxian fleet. The galaxy was a different place now. Where once there had been constant wars and territorial disputes, there was now an uneasy peace. The reason was simple. Everyone was afraid of making Earth angry. Ambassador Jake Harrison walked through the corridors of the new Dimensional Security Council headquarters. The building had been constructed on Earth's moon, where representatives from across the galaxy could meet without worrying about their home worlds suddenly vanishing. The irony was not lost on anyone. 17 new applications for defensive alliances arrived this morning, reported Secretary Karen Brooks as she joined Jake in the main conference room. The Altarians want protection from hegemony expansion. The Verdant Collective is worried about Zephyrian raids. Even some of the smaller Vraxian colonies are asking for help. Jake smiled as he reviewed the requests. The same species that had mocked human defenses now begged for human protection. It was a complete reversal of the galactic power structure. "What about the Centauri Federation proposal?" Jake asked. "President Morrison approved it yesterday," Karen replied. "We will establish a joint research facility to study peaceful applications of quantum displacement technology. The Centauri are particularly interested in using it for disaster relief." The idea of using quantum displacement for humanitarian purposes had come from Dr. Nina Walsh. If they could move planets, they could also move asteroid impacts away from populated worlds. They could relocate colonies threatened by solar flares or volcanic eruptions. The technology that had been created for war was becoming a tool for saving lives. Dr. Carl Rodriguez entered the conference room, carrying a thick stack of reports. His hair had gone completely gray in the past 6 months, but his eyes were bright with excitement. "The quantum field generators are working better than we ever imagined," he announced. "We successfully displaced the research station at Alpha Centauri yesterday. The entire facility, along with its staff of 300 scientists, was moved from orbit around one star to orbit around another. Total travel time, 12 seconds. The implications were staggering. Faster-than-light travel had always required massive ships and enormous amounts of energy. But quantum displacement could move entire space stations across interstellar distances. In moments, trade, exploration, and communication were all being revolutionized. President Helen Morrison appeared on the main screen, transmitting from the White House. She looked tired but satisfied, leading humanity through its transformation. From galactic weakling to galactic superpower had been exhausting. The Zephyrian Empire has formally requested our mediation in their border dispute with the hegemony, she reported. Both sides have agreed to binding arbitration rather than risk military conflict. It was a remarkable change. The Zephyrians had once been among the most warlike species in the galaxy. Their 4-armed warriors were legendary for their ferocity in battle. But even they had lost their appetite for war when faced with the possibility of having their entire fleet displaced to empty space. Admiral Lisa Carter joined the meeting from her new command center on Earth's orbital defense platform. The facility had been expanded dramatically to house the Dimensional Security Council's operations center. From here, they could monitor quantum field activity across 100 light years. The Etherian Collective has completed their analysis of our displacement technology, Admiral Carter reported. They confirm that it is purely defensive. We cannot use it to attack planets or stations that are properly shielded. This was important information. The Galactic Council had been worried that humans could use quantum displacement as a weapon, materializing Earth inside enemy solar systems to cause gravitational chaos. But the Etherian scientists had proven that the technology only worked on objects that were already part of the quantum field network. Dr. Nina Walsh appeared on another screen, broadcasting from the Colorado facility. She had become something of a celebrity in scientific circles, though she preferred to stay focused on her research. We have successfully established quantum field connections with 12 allied worlds, she announced. The Altarian home system, 3 Centauri colonies, and 8 independent worlds have all requested displacement capabilities for emergency situations. The network was growing. Each new world that joined the quantum field system became safer from attack. Aggressive empires were learning that threatening allied worlds meant risking displacement to the edge of the galaxy. What about the Vraxian situation? President Morrison asked. Jake leaned forward in his chair. This was the most delicate issue they faced. The Vraxian Empire had been the galaxy's primary military power for centuries. Their defeat at Earth had shattered their confidence and caused internal political upheaval. Commander Zrak-Thul has requested a private meeting, Jake reported. He claims to represent a faction within the Vraxian military that wants to negotiate a formal peace treaty. Can we trust them? Admiral Carter asked. I think we have to try, Jake replied. The Vraxian Empire is fragmenting. If we can make peace with the moderate factions, it might prevent a civil war that could destabilize the entire galaxy. The meeting with Commander Zrak-Thul took place on the neutral world of Kepler 442b, the same planet where the Galactic Council had once mocked human defenses. The Vraxian commander looked different than he had 6 months ago. His crystalline wings were duller, and his compound eyes showed the strain of recent events. Ambassador Harrison, Zrak-Thul said as they met in the diplomatic chamber, I come to you with an offer of peace. Jake studied the Vraxian carefully. This was the same being who had threatened to destroy Earth and enslave humanity. A defeat had changed him. There was a humility in his posture that had not been there before. What kind of peace? Jake asked. Complete withdrawal from human space, Zrak-Thul replied. Recognition of all human territorial claims. Reparations for the colonies we threatened. In return, we ask only that you not use your displacement technology against Vraxian worlds. The offer was generous, perhaps too generous. Jake suspected there was more to the story. What is really happening in the Vraxian Empire? He asked. Zrak-Thul's wings drooped. Civil war is coming. The old military leaders blame me for our defeat. At Earth, they say I should have attacked immediately, instead of giving you time to demonstrate your capabilities. The younger generation thinks we should abandon our aggressive expansion and focus on internal development. And what do you think? Jake asked. I think the galaxy has changed, Zrak-Thul replied. The age of conquest is over. Species that can make their home worlds disappear cannot be conquered by traditional means. We must learn to coexist or face extinction. The peace negotiations took 3 weeks. In the end, the Vraxian Empire agreed to a complete transformation of their society. Their military would be reduced to defensive forces only. Their expansion into other species' territories would end. Most importantly, They would join the Dimensional Security Council as junior partners. It is not the outcome I expected 6 months ago, Admiral Carter admitted as they reviewed the final treaty terms. I thought we would have to fight a long war against the Vraxians. Sometimes the threat of overwhelming force is more effective than using it, Jake replied. They know we could make their entire empire disappear if we wanted to. That knowledge has made them much more reasonable. Dr. Nina Walsh had been working on new applications for quantum displacement technology. Her latest project involved creating permanent gateways between allied worlds. Instead of moving planets or fleets, they could create doorways through space-time that allowed instant travel and communication. Imagine being able to step from Earth directly onto a Centauri colony world, she explained during a scientific conference, or having real-time conversations with allies on the other side of the galaxy. Quantum displacement could unite the civilized species like never before. The first permanent gateway was established between Earth and the Centauri Federation capital. The test was a complete success. President Morrison walked through a doorway in Washington, D.C., and emerged seconds later on a planet 25 light-years away. This changes everything, she said as she stepped back through the gateway to Earth. Trade, diplomacy, cultural exchange. All of it becomes instantaneous. The Galactic Council voted unanimously to relocate their headquarters to Earth's moon. The symbolism was powerful. The planet that had once been dismissed as primitive and defenseless was now the center of galactic civilization. Speaker Thais Ka, in a rare moment of humility, publicly apologized for his species' past treatment of humanity. We judged you by your weapons instead of your wisdom, he said during the relocation ceremony. We will not make that mistake again. The Etherian Collective composed a song celebrating humanity's rise to galactic prominence. The Aquarians built underwater cities where humans and other species could meet in safety. Even the mechanical hegemony praised human innovation and requested technological exchanges. But perhaps the most significant change was in how conflicts were resolved. When the Draconian Syndicate threatened to invade 3 independent worlds, they found their entire fleet displaced to an S.